Hey, I'm Karen.
And I'm Deb, and we are here to answer all of your real estate questions with the same good advice that we would give our best friends. Karen, what's today's question?
Today's question is, what should I know about today's interest rates?
So, Karen, I thought this would be a good topic today because it's kind of that elephant in the room. People don't want to talk about interest rates because they feel like they're so bad, but they do want to talk about interest rates because they want to know where they're going to go and what the future holds. So maybe we can shed a little light on it today.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
I want to start with the one thing I've been saying, which is they're not that bad. Yeah. And I feel like I'm not being sensitive or taking into account, first-time home buyers who haven't been through this before, because I always am real flip and I say, well, when I bought my first house in 1997, I think it was, interest rates were 7%. We thought those were great.
Right.
And then I realized that that's kind of a dumb answer. And then I would also follow that up by saying, go find someone who bought a house in 1981 and paid 18% interest rate. So while all of that is true, I don't think it really answers people's concerns. But I do want to throw up this one chart that shows historic interest rates, and this actually goes back to 1971. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, it was before I was born, just a little. And it's showing that the average interest rate since 1971 is 7.76. So we're still below that. Mm-hmm. So when you look at it historically and you kind of keep things in perspective, and I know people are going to say, well, houses were cheaper then. Yes, but wages were also much less expensive. I think my dad bought his first house in 1971. Mm-hmm. I want to say they paid somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000. But you know what? He probably made $8,000 a year. Sure. That house is now worth, last I checked, it was probably worth close to $1 million in the San Francisco Bay Area. Yeah. So there's an investment for you. We sold well before it became $1 million. So anyway, so just keep that in perspective, I think, is the first thing that I want to say. It's not as bad as you think it is.
You're right. The interest rates are not as bad as they used to be. We're not going to see those historically low interest rates that we did back a year and a half, 2 years ago in the 2s and 3s. But what we do know is that mortgage rates do follow what the inflation is doing. When that starts to come down, which it will, we will also see the interest rates start to decrease. What we do think will happen, or the forecast, is that will probably happen likely mid-summer or late spring, early summer, because they're looking at a 12-month history, the 12-month rolling history. So last year to now, and as they're averaging that, we're going to see better improvements by, these economists that we follow.
So people who know like even less than you, like me, right? Like you say you're not an economist. Well, I'm not even anything like close to that. But what I'm hearing you say is that it's not a crystal ball. We're not saying interest rates are going down because we're trying to sell you a house. Correct. We're saying interest rates are going to go down because we're seeing the data that is supporting that, based on the last year and where things are up and down and all kinds of consumer price indexes and things I could never, ever explain to you. But what is important, my takeaway for a non-educated person is, I call myself uneducated in the world of economy, is that this is based on data. It's not based on someone trying to sell you something.
Yes. And everyone's going to be able to articulate it a little bit differently, way better than what I'm doing right now. But yes, lenders are not just saying that rates will go down, like trust us, it will. There is data out there that supports the trend, and that once the inflation does go down, interest rates will start to come down and we will see improvements. So
here's my thought.
Yeah.
Which I think maybe takes us to point number 3, right? Mm-hmm. Is that if rates do go down later spring, early summer, I think that people are going to start to come out of the woodwork to buy homes. I think there are people that have priced themselves out. They waited too long, and now with the slightly higher interest rates, they can't find anything that works because their price point's a little bit lower. Interest rates go down. People are able to afford a little bit more. We're going to have more buyers coming out of the woodwork. And because we still have a housing shortage going on, there's going to be more competition.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to then start to see prices go up. So in my mind, I'm taking away from what you're saying about interest rates that people have two options. They can wait till interest rates go down a little bit later in the year, but they're probably going to be faced with much tougher competition to get into a home, like we saw last year. All the multiple offers and people making offers on 10, 12 homes before they actually get something. Or right now, when there's a lot less competition because there's fewer buyers out there, they could buy something and then guess what you can do?
They can definitely refinance. Down the road. Absolutely. I mean, the refinance market won't be as wild and crazy as it was, but like you were saying, if you find something now and you don't have to go into a bidding war or, lose out and going well over asking. And I say
probably go under asking a little bit.
Could quite possibly. Yeah. This would be the time to still take advantage of what the rates are right now, get into that house. When the market shifts and interest rates lower, you can look into refinancing if that's something you want to do or not. A lot of lenders don't try to push that, but this is a great way to get into a house and avoid, missing out on the house of your dreams. So
yeah, and I think it's important because a lot of first-time buyers who don't have a lot of experience with mortgages kind of forget about refinancing, and that you can refinance fairly quickly. You don't have to wait 5 years or anything like that. And so you can always, with mortgage rates, you can always guarantee that your rate's not going to go up, but you can get a lower rate and take advantage of that. And I think that that's a good strategy in today's market. Get in at the lower price and, wait 6 months to a year and then refinance, and you're, in probably a better position than someone who waited. So I think that that's an option.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to have you ask you to maybe talk about a little bit is that in addition to the things out of our control, there are things within your control as a buyer, as a borrower, you call them borrowers, I call them buyers, to help contribute to a lower interest rate.
Right. I think a lot of first-time buyers, when they're talking with a lender for the first time, that's the first time that they hear about how your credit score can impact what kind of interest rate you're going to receive. So if their friends or family or whoever have bought a house and they were like, oh, we got this XYZ interest rate, and they may come to the table thinking that they're going to get that same interest rate. But there are several factors that go into your credit score, and the higher your credit score, typically the better your interest rate. And then it's the opposite. The lower your credit score, the higher your interest rate. So, but things that go into your credit score are your credit history, the type of credit you have, the balances you carry, your late payments, collection items, so a lot of that can play into that. And if you don't really know what your mortgage credit score is, that's when you want to get with someone to really find out where you sit right now. If there's something that we can do to improve those scores to get you into a better purchasing power, increase those scores over time. And if time is on your side, that is what you want to do, because in the long run, you're going to save a ton of money.
Yeah. One of the things that drives me crazy is when you do see published interest rates, and there's never, in my opinion, a disclaimer that's in big enough letters that says, this isn't necessarily your interest rate. This is just sort of an average. Or a lot of times we see lenders put out like the absolute best interest rate that they can offer. So that's credit scores over 720 and, 20% down payment and all of these things. So I think definitely taking control over the parts that you can control. And knowing that there are some things in the economy that we can't control. It's still I just don't want people to give up on the American dream. That sounds kind of hokey, but I feel like there are some people, I know you and I have worked with some that have just kind of missed the boat, made decisions too slowly. And here we are a year and a half later and they're still renting, and now there's not a lot of prospect because of the way prices and interest rates have gone. So don't miss out.
Don't feel defeated.
Want to do it.
Yeah. Don't feel defeated, because the opportunity is still out there to be able to purchase what you want And you can always improve the interest rate later, like you had mentioned.
Absolutely. All right. I think that wraps it up for this episode. You trust your best friends to give you good advice.
Consider us your best friends in real estate. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And please don't forget to like and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.